is Monday, April 21st. I can't believe that it is already April 21st. Good morning, everybody. Hello, Michelle. Good morning. Good to see you here. So, yeah, it's April 21st, you guys. It is the day after Easter. So I hope that all of you had a very blessed Easter. I know that not everybody celebrates Easter, but I hope if you do that you had a wonderful Easter, maybe some time with family, some time with friends, maybe just some time kind of hanging out and taking advantage of a nice quiet day. Hello, Kara and Dieter Diane. Hello. Oh my gosh, you guys. Yeah, so it is now after Easter. The next push will be for Mother's Day. So I think that from here on, at least for a few weeks, we should be thinking about Mother's Day gifts, making things for mom. So yeah, that's something we got to put in the noggin if you aren't already on that, which I'm sure some of you probably already are. Hello, everybody. Let's see who else is here. Susanna says good morning. Gosh, you guys, it is an Easter celebration still here at artbeads.com. So we have an Easter mystery coupon. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but if you go to the website, www.artbeads.com, if you go to the website, right across the top of the page is a banner all about the Easter mystery coupon. And there is a little place for you to click and you can receive a coupon. And it is the last day, Michelle. So it's through the end of today and you could get $5 off. You could get 30% off. It is totally random. And what will you get? So that's kind of a fun thing because we're carrying on the celebration of Easter through today, and then who knows what will be next. But I think you should take advantage of such a fun coupon and such a fun experience. Hi, Kim. Good morning. So before I start and before we start chitty-chatting about what we're going to do today, let's talk about how to watch this show. So if you're watching at artbeads.com/live, that is the best, most interactive way to watch the show. So that's how I can see comments. You can chitty chat with me and Michelle in the comments. And yeah, you can tell me where you're from. Tell me what you're up to today. Tell me what your plans are for the week. Because we like to start the week off right here at artbeads.com, fresh, first thing on Monday morning with this show, Designing with Deb. And by the way, I'm Deb. So if you are watching here, you can see all of the little icons on the screen. One is sharing. So you can share this show, share it with a friend, share it in a group if your group allows that. You can just share it to your page. Maybe you want to go back and see it on your page later. Oh, Laura Q, no, I'm giving my hair a little bit of a rest. It's straight today, and I'm just giving it a little rest from the curling iron. So guys, you can share the show. You can also chat. So as I said, I can see your chat if you are here at artbeads.com. But you can also shop this show. So there's a little shopping bag icon, and that icon will allow you to shop the show while the show is happening. So I don't go away. It just gets smaller on the screen. You can see everything that's in the show if you click on that bag, and you can put things into your own shopping cart while you watch. So that's kind of fun. And you can also do the shopping when the show is not live. So if you come back and watch the replay, you can still shop the show. And we love that for you because sometimes we have a project and that project might require a bunch of things. And if you click on that shopping bag, you'll see today there are a lot of things for this project. So you can always come back and watch the replay and do the same thing. Click on that shopping bag and load things into your shopping cart and get them on their way to you. So let's see, who else did I miss while I was yammering there? Let's see, we've got Annetta is here. Carol's here from South Jersey. She's excited about Mother's Day jewelry ideas. Me too. Brenda, I think Michelle is helping you out with that sound. Winnie, hello, Winnie. And Carolyn is here. Oh, thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate you. Tina is here. Good morning. Denise from Connecticut is here. And let's see who else. Yeah, so guys, I today want to talk to you. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you one more thing. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, we want you to come on over, but if you can't come over right now, that's cool. You can still get over here in at some point during the show. If you see a code at the top of the screen on Facebook, you can enter that into the comments and that will bring you on over. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can click on the link in the description of the show and come on over. I just can't see your comments live and you can't really shop the show live. So we want you to come on over if you can. We would love that. Hi, Debbie M. Good morning. Okay, so we are going to talk about a fun thing that I like to make, and that's lariats. So lariats are typically made as just a continuous piece of, a continuous strand of beads or a continuous strand of chain. It typically does not have a clasp. And you can sometimes, depending on how long it is, wrap it, or you can make it in all different kinds of ways that maybe makes it a little bit convertible. I know some folks aren't super keen on lariats, but I thought today we would kind of do a hybrid of a lariat and a necklace. And I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can do that. So some lariat hacks, so to speak. And I thought that might be kind of fun. We've done lariats here before on this show, but I thought this would be kind of fun. And today I'm sporting a Southwest style top because we're going to be making this lariat in sort of Southwest inspired pieces. So I've got some beads, some gemstones, and some Czech glass, and some fun things that I think will make a really cool Southwest style lariat. Okay, before I flip, let me say good morning to a few more of you. Debbie M, Kathleen, Cindy, hello you guys. So I'm going to flip around and and you're just going to see a blank slate here. You're going to see my work table, and I'm going to pull over my bead mat, which is always incredibly helpful when you've got a project and you've got a lot of different pieces and parts to work with. So I thought I would start with showing you a couple of things. So I'm going to be working with some Bead-A-Long 19 strand beading wire today in a bronze color. I love the bronze. It's such a cool color for working with gold or antique brass or even copper. So if you care about your wire color, this is a great color to work with. So that's what I'm working with today. Sherilyn, hi, it's a miracle. Thank you for being here, Sherilyn. I appreciate you. Andy says she made it over from YouTube. You didn't miss much, Cheryl, Andy, you didn't miss much. So we're just getting started. So this is the wire that I'm working with. And then I've got a bunch of things. So I'm just going to give you the rundown. These two beads were the inspiration for this project. They are both Dakota stones. And I'll give you the scoop on what they are. This one is a jade, and it's a 10 by 14 millimeter oval bead strand. And I've already cut mine because I started this project. It's a long necklace, so I didn't want you all to fall asleep on me while I strung up so many beads. But this is what we've got left to work with to finish off the project. Look at these beautiful green jade beads. I love these. Dakota stones are such a nice quality bead. So I picked out these and then I combined them, though they don't maybe look like they match they do when you put them all together. This is a Dakota Stones 10 by 14 matte African turquoise jasper, and they're also oval, so they're the same shape and size as the jade. And if you're a turquoise fan, these are not turquoise. They are actually a jasper, but they look like turquoise. They're kind of like turquoise for those on a budget, because turquoise is so expensive right now. It's been expensive because it's just, almost gone out there in the mines. So this is a great alternative. So the gemstones I thought were very, very cool. And then I had to bring out some of my most favorite beads ever. Like, I know I say I have a lot of favorites, and I know you guys laugh at me when I do that, but this bead is probably one of the most spectacular beads that exists, at least in my book. These are Czech glass 8mm Color Trends saturated metallic russet. I've used these in a lot of projects, and I'm going to convert you guys to this beautiful antique or saturated metallic russet as well. It is a beautiful saturated color. It is orange, but it is also a very eye-pleasing orange, and it comes in different shapes and sizes. So this is the 8mm. We're going to work with that. We're also working with them in these little teardrops. So look at these guys. They are so cute. Here's the strand. So you get a ton of these. And I love these. And this is, it's the exact same color. So we're going to sprinkle in some different shapes and sizes into our design today. So we've got some of those. And then I also used these little ones. So these are the 4mm, and they're tiny but mighty. Look at that same metallic finish. Is so incredibly beautiful. I absolutely love this bead color, the finish on them. It is fantastic. So we're gonna work with those, and then we needed some dimension. So we're gonna do that with 3 more items. So we're going to add some seed beads and demi rounds. So we talked about demi rounds a while back. Demi rounds are kind of a shorter, flatter seed bead. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. So this is a flatter, shorter seed bead. It's roughly about half the height of a seed bead. And this kind of looks like an O bead, if you're familiar with an O bead. This is a demi round in 8mm. And it's a matte, and it is suede gold. So this is going to bring in some metallic. Then we're also going to bring in another demi round, and this one is smaller. This is an 11-0, and this one is antique bronze. And these are both Toho, and they look really cool together. So you've got a shiny and a matte finish on these beautiful accent spacer beads that we're going to use. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to add a pop of color with my seed beads. So these are also an orange tone, but they're lighter. And these are Toho Treasures. These are a #1 treasure bead in the Toho, and they are absolutely spectacular. They are burnt orange lined jonquil. So they have a like a clear exterior, and they're lined in that beautiful orangey color. I think these are a little bit more like tangerine, and certainly when you put them up against this orange, it's a very different orange. But I love that there's that that difference. So there's the big, kind of bold, dark orange, and then this lovely light, airy, orangey tone in our seed beads. So we're actually going to stack these three as our spacer sections. So I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. A few other things that we're going to use some incredible antique brass plated round links on round cable chain. This is like that charm chain. And this is incredibly fun chain to work with. We're going to use this at the end of our piece, and we're going to match it up to this JBB antique brass plated hollow wire round bead. So these two things go really nicely together, and it kind of ties back to these metallics that we have going. And I've got a few other things that we'll work with that I'll bring in as we go. So all of these things are in the shopping bag, and some of them may be limited. So if you want to grab some of these, make sure that you pop them in your cart and you check out before we wrap things up today. So here we go. So I told you I cheated. Well, I didn't cheat. I went ahead and I started our necklace, and I did because it's long. So this is what we're making. This is what your piece would look like if you pick up all of the pieces and parts that we have in the show today. There's also a few little substitutes in here as well. I did put in another demi round that is matte in case you want to just go with all matte for your two different demi rounds. So look at, I told you that those two gemstone beads didn't look like they necessarily went together, but when you put them together, they look phenomenal, don't they? Thank you for the hearts, you guys. I love this, and I'll give you a little close-up of all of the sections here. So we've got our gemstones, and then we've got those little spacer sections. So if you see up top here, I've got the larger demi rounds close up to my beads, then the smaller demi rounds, and then that beautiful little orangey jonquil treasure bead in the center there. So it's just creating some continuity. There's my 8mm round. This is an easy project, but it packs a lot of power. Now let's talk about lariats. So lariats can be long and they can be wrapped around multiple times. You could do lots of different things to convert them. I'm making this one with the intention of it just hanging around the neck, and I'm going to show you that hack that's kind of making it a quasi necklace versus lariat, kind of a combo of the two. And the way that I did this one is I actually made a section in the back of the necklace that is all of our Color Trends beads. So these Czech beads in the back. So I started and I just strung on a pattern of the large rounds, and then here's where those small rounds come in. I don't use the small rounds anywhere but in the back. So these little guys, these little 4mm are in the back, and they're also matched up with the 8s and the teardrops, and then all of our little spacer sections. So I created a whole section of these beads for the back of our lariat. So this is going to sit on the back of your neck, and you can decide if you need this to be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. This kind of fits right around the back of my neck. And if you wear your hair up, this is also really beautiful in the back. All these gorgeous, beautiful metallic russet beads. They're just gorgeous. Then what I did is I started my pattern of the gemstones. And I'm still keeping my pattern of spacers all throughout the course of the necklace. And I use one of the African turquoise, then my seed bead pattern, then a trio of those teardrops, because teardrops look great in threes. And then another pattern of our spacers, and then one of the jade beads pattern of spacers, then one of the rounds, and then it repeats all the way down. And I'm going to show you what I did here at the bottom to finish the other end, but I used that chain and then that really cool bead that's got the open brass, so that little kind of swirly pattern brass bead. So I got this piece fairly well strung on at the other end. And so what I'm going to do is finish it. Then I'll show you how to do that chain at the end. And then we're going to talk about the hack. So one thing I did change up when I started the end, when I started my other strand, is I switched up the gemstones. So the gemstones are in the same pattern along one side. Then over here, what I did is I started with the opposite gemstone. I don't know why. It just looks cool. It just adds a little bit of interest. You could do the same exact pattern if you'd like. Totally up to you, but I love the look of it being, you know, a different stone on the other side. These two pieces are going to come together, so I just think it's interesting and adds a little bit of a design choice for you to work with. So I'm going to push this end off to the side, and we're going to work with this side of our piece. And I have a bead stopper in. Bead stoppers are unfortunately out of stock, you guys, but you might want to set yourself a reminder to ask for when these come back in stock. I'm just taking a sip of coffee. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my beads, my little spacer beads, and I'm going to create my section of them. So I'm going to add one of the large demi rounds, one of the small demi rounds, one of those treasures, then small demi round, large demi round, and then the next bead in my pattern is that large, let me move these, that large russet 8mm. So that's what I'm adding next. And I am using that 19 strand beading wire here. And that is, I think, a great wire, but you could use 49 strand if you prefer that. And you don't necessarily have to use the color that I'm working with. So if you find that you've got a gold or something else that you want to work with, that's cool too. So now I'm adding on my next gemstone. So just easy peasy, but look at all the dimension, the texture. I just love everything about this piece because it's got a little bit of everything, and it makes this piece look super fun and interesting. And I just love putting all the parts together to make it something beautiful. That's the cool thing about jewelry making is you take a few beads, something really beautiful to wear or to gift to someone or to sell to someone at a market or something like that. So when you add your trio, they'll sometimes string on like that, but all you'll see is when you push it together that those will kind of make a little picot design when you push them together. That's how they'll settle in together. So I'm going to do my spacers, and it's hard for me to see them. So I may be moving around just a little bit out of camera. If I do, I apologize. But this is just adding, like, all of this little spacer action is just adding a lot of interest here. So we're just creating some metallic and some pops of color, some different types of metallic, just, some interest. And you could do just one of the seed beads or one demi round in between the beads if you dig that look. Totally up to you how you want to put this together, but I really love how this looks. So that's our That's our section there that we're adding. And let's see. I'm going to check my design because I didn't have a lot to add. And I'm going to be out of camera shot because this necklace is so long. I've got a few more to add here. So I've got a few more beads to add, not many. So I won't put you completely to sleep today with stringing tons of beads. But we're going to put on our next section of seed beads and demi-rounds. I really like demi-rounds for spacers. If you have not used demi-rounds before, they again are like a little half seed bead, and they're just a nice little spacer. And I'm grouping them together because I think they look cool grouped together. But you don't have to do that. You can just use 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and you can create your own look. And if you get these, so when you get a vial of these guys, you get a ton of them. So sometimes when you're buying spacer beads and you're buying the metal spacer beads, you can't really get as many because of the price point. So this is kind of a cool thing that you get a ton of them in a little vial. You get like a 2.5-inch vial and you get a ton of beads. So there's our little trio. And I'm going to check again because I have to. I can't help myself. Checking the beads here. So I've got one more gemstone to add. So I'm going to start with my spacer section. And if you prefer, you can put your spacers onto your mat and you can pick them up with your wire. If you watch me, know that I like to pick them up. That's just what I do. And our last gemstone is going to be one of the African turquoise, because our last gemstone on the other side was one of the jade beads. So you could also switch up the ordering of the orange beads if you like. Totally a preference thing. So we are at the end of our stringing. So I'm going to take my stopper, I'm going to put that on, and I'm going to off camera hang this. I'm going to make sure that I get all of the slack out. I wish I could show you, but I can't quite get everything into camera shot. So I'm getting all the slack out, and then I'm pushing this bead stopper up towards my last bead, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is get all of this out of the way because I have been known to make the seed beads fly. So we're just going to move all of those off to the side, like way off to the side. And I'm going to put some of these beads together and put these off to the side. I believe I put the trays in the show today. These trays are great for a project like this because you've got so many pieces and parts to work with. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our chain, our fancy bead, and I've got some size 2 crimps, and I'm going to use gold crimps. I believe I was able to get some crimps in the show today, some gold crimps. We only need 2 crimps because that's all we need for this project. Don't need a ton. You need a ton of beads, but you don't need a ton of tools. So here's my crimp, my size 2 crimp, and here's my chain. Now, what I did with the chain is I literally crimped the beading wire directly onto the chain. Now, if you look at this chain, it is basically a series of jump rings that are soldered. and they have these larger rings on them. So I believe there's 2 or 3 rings on each jump ring. And this is what the rings look like that are attached. And if you cut your chain, save these rings because they will be cool rings for you to work with later. So put them in a separate bag or back in the bag with your chain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, I didn't put this in the show, but I'm going to grab a beading awl and I'm going to count 13 of those jump rings. So 1, 2, 3, wait, that's the end. So I'm going to count them because I want this chain to be the same length. So you have to discern which are the jump rings. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just hit the camera. Sorry about that. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 is right here. So I'm going to put my, oops, and I just lost it. I think it's that one right there. So I'm going to put that onto my beading awl. And then what I'm going to do is cut. Now, unfortunately, you do have to cut. But what's great is, like I said, you can save those extra rings and you can use them for another project later. So I'm going to pull that apart. You'll see those little rings will drop off and your little jump ring that we cut gets tossed, but you've got these fun little rings to use later for a project. And so here is my little section of chain. And I'm just going to do a quick check to see, yeah, that is, I think that's pretty much the same length, just double checking. Then what we're going to do, you guys, is grab our crimping pliers and I'm going to put on my my crimp. So we're going to put that right onto the wire and it's going to go right up against your last bead. And then get my chain out of the way. What you'll want to do, and this is up to you, but I like to attach to the first jump ring in the chain. So not to the bigger ring, but to the jump ring that's on there. So I'm going to take my wire and put it through that ring like so. And then we're going to go up our crimp and we're going to come out of that first bead. And I'm going to make sure that there's not a lot of slack here on the necklace. We've already sort of let gravity do its thing, but I might just do that one more time because I don't want a lot of slack here. So sorry, doing that off camera. And I'm attaching to that jump ring. Just see right there, we're attaching directly on. Now, because this piece of chain is all about rings, you could just add a jump ring to the end here and then attach your piece of chain. If this is too messy and crazy for you, you could do it that way. Okay. Then we're going to come in with our crimping pliers and we're going to crimp and put the crimping pliers. This is hard to hold on to here. Let me get that back around. So get that on there and we're going to crimp on that chain. Now you could use a little bit of French wire around your beading wire if you like. You guys know I like that. I don't believe there was any in stock, so I opted not to add that in today, but you could certainly do that. So this is what that little piece of chain looks like hanging from the end. So this is adding some interest to the end of your lariat. Fun, dangly chain, super cool. So you could end there if you want. You could just end it right there, but we're going to add one more embellishment to the end of our piece. And that's this really fun JBB antique brass hollow wire round. This looks really organic and fun, but it's got a big hole. So I've got some really nice ball end head pins here. These are 21 gauge. They're 3 inches. You could go shorter if you want. Nice ball end, and it matches the metal here. But if we put this through here, it may not stay. So it is just barely staying through there. So sometimes, yeah, see, this went right into the bead. The other hole is a little bit larger. So to remedy that, what we're going to do is we're going to grab a couple of daisy spacers. Now, I put some daisy spacers in the show, but I also put in, if you want to drop in some gold accents, I also put these in the show. These are tiara cast, and they are 3mm little Hishi beads. So spacers, you could certainly work with those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my daisy spacer, drop that on to the end of my head pin, and then we're going to take this bead and we're going to put another daisy spacer on top of it. So they kind of blend in, but at the same time, they add a little bit more interest too. So I love how that looks. This is such a cool bead. And then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to come in and we're going to create a loop. Oops. This is the 21 gauge is a little chunky. So we're going to create a loop and then I'm going to open that loop up. And again, you don't have to directly wire wrap onto the chain. You could go ahead and wrap this and then attach to the bottom here with a jump ring. But I'm going to just wrap right on, and I'm going to wrap it on to the very bottom jump ring. So again, we have little rings that are hanging from the jump ring. I'm going to come in and put that head pin right into our ring. So I've got that right into the very bottom ring, and those other rings will just kind of hang down over that ring. So I'm going to come in now with my Xuron chain nose. These are amazing. These are in the show today too. This is such a great tool. I could not make jewelry without this tool. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab my loop, and I'm going to make sure that that little daisy spacer is behaving. And then I'm going to wrap around, and this can be messy or it can be super, finished. But because they're all the same metal tone, it all blends together. And because this is so kind of curly and crazy, a messy wrap kind of looks fun on the top of that. And it gives you justification for doing a messy wrap if you make it messy by accident even. So that's our end. So we now have a lariat. But we're not going to stop there because I want to show you this hack. So as I mentioned earlier, in case you missed it, this is the back section. And then we did 2 long strands of all of our beautiful beads. Then we added some fun chain and metal beads at the end. So this necklace is pretty much all the same. And if you were to put it on, this piece would hang to one side and this piece would hang to the other. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. But I know some people are not crazy about how a lariat does that. They're afraid they're going to make a move and the necklace is going to fly off. You could tie your lariat, just kind of do a loose tie like this if you wanted to. There's different things that you can do. You can also even wrap it around if you wanted to, but I intended for this to be a long piece that hangs down in the center. And if you're concerned about it flying off or doing something crazy, if you're disco dancing, here's a hack. Now, this is on clearance. There were 25 of them this morning. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. This is a JBB 21 millimeter antique brass swivel S-hook. So check this out. It's got 2 hooks and it swivels. So if you love this and you find this useful to you, it's on clearance. Grab as many of them as you can and run, because I don't think that these will be brought back. But this is a cool thing to do for a piece like this. Now, what I like to do is come in and I'm going to ever so gently open up my hooks. Just very, very carefully. And I'm going to come in. This is another reason why a section of seed beads is helpful, because I'm going to come in with my hook and I'm going to hook onto the preferred area that I choose to attach it to. And this can change as long as you don't aggressively pull these apart. You can do this again multiple times, but I'm going to come in with my chain nose again, and I'm just going to give that a little close. So I've got that connected on. Then what I would do when I put this on myself is I would come over. Got to get this to the right spot, you guys, so you can see it. And I would hook it onto the other side. Now, you can do this if you'd like, but you can connect it in different places. You can, I'm going to open that up, across from your piece. You can help your piece to be different lengths on either side by connecting it in different places. But this is a really cool hack so that you don't, if you're going to go disco dancing or samba dancing or something, you've got a way to connect your lariat. So you've got a way to connect it. It's secure on you, and you can remove this at any point. You just don't want to overly stretch your metal hooks. And this swivels, so it's going to have some give and it's going to move around a little bit. So that's kind of nice for a necklace, especially when it's a long necklace. Now, there are a couple of other ways that you could do this. So I'm not going to actually do it because I've already strung this, but you could, as an alternative, there are swivel lobster clasps. You can string this on to your piece. So let's say you want your clasp to be in the same place. You would string this on directly to your stringing wire, and this would go on and could swivel around. Now, if you don't have a swivel clasp, you can also use a regular lobster claw and put a jump ring on it. And then on the other side, you can, if your jump ring or if your lobster is big enough, you can clip directly onto your piece where you have your seed beads. So another great reason to have your seed beads, because you've got enough space to put that lobster claw on, right? You could also use a closed jump ring and attach it to the other side of your necklace. So this is strung on. This could be attached with a smaller jump ring directly to your beading wire. And then you're just kind of bringing that together And this would be how your piece would look. You'd have a little lobster in between your two strands. So that's another way to close that up if you like. So that's a couple of options for you. Now, if you find that this guy is sold out, you can actually make your own S-Clasp. So gauge wire, I believe I was able to find some 20 gauge wire for you and put this into the show today. Thanks for the hearts, you guys. You can create your own. I'm going to try and replicate. I'm not always really good at making these. I've got some 20 gauge wire here. It's gold, but you could match up your wire if you like. And I think I've got, it's about 4 inches of wire. You probably don't need that exact amount. And I've got round nose and Michelle did not put these in the show, but this is a Euro tool and it's a bail making plier. And this has a larger barrel on one side, a smaller barrel on the other side. I'm going to be using the larger barrel here to help me out. So this is what I do. Let me move this out of the way. So this is what I do. I will take the very tip of the wire into the very tip of my pliers, and I actually bend the wire around and I create a loop like that. And then what I do is I grab these bail making pliers and I'm going to go all the way down to the largest part. You see these are tapered. I'm going to go all the way down to the largest part of the barrel. And I'm just going to give that a slight bend. Not a perfect one. And then I'm going to come around and I'm going to do a loop on the other side. So I'm going to do that, push it around the bottom. Oops, I didn't quite get it all the way at the bottom there. Let's do that again. Push that in. So there we go. I'm going to push that around like so. Okay. So now we've got the S formed. Then I'm going to come and cut right about there, like so. See, that's what you're looking like right here. And then get these out of the way. Then I'm going to come back in with my smaller round nose. And I'm going to grab the very tip of the wire. And I'm going to grab it, reposition and grab it and pull it around. And I'm going to use both hands to push that together. And then I've got 2 loops. Now what I would do, couple of different options here with the S-Clasp. First of all, I would hammer this. We're not going to do that on camera today, but I would grab just one of your handy dandy hammers that you might have stashed in your jewelry tools. I would work hard on this a little bit. 20 gauge wire is pretty tough and it's going to hold its shape, but it's better if you actually hammer this and give it some security and have it hold its shape. You could do a couple things. You could attach to the wire, string it onto the wire. That's one option, but you can come in and do this. You can grab both sides of the necklace and you can press these down and you've got a piece together. And it's probably a little bit larger than I would make, but you could make whatever size you would like. And you can place a piece, but that's another option for you. That's another lariat hack for you to attach your lariat so that it does not come apart. And you can push these together. This one's still really pliable. You can push these together and that will then hold your lariat together. And you will need to make sure you adjust the size, based on the beads or the length that you want, the width that you want your piece to be separated. So this one is pretty close together. So it's going to keep the piece fairly close together, but maybe you want it to be further apart. So a wider S-clasp can be helpful to you. So you could also, one more option is you could make a little hook. So I've got a couple of different ones that I did here, and I wire wrapped this one and I wire wrapped this one. You can string this directly onto your stringing wire. I kind of went around the square part of my plier to get kind of a squarish feel to that one. You could also just create a little loop for the other side. So these can both be strung on to your necklace, to your lariat. And then when they come together, you can this is not a great loop. Wow, that's ugly. Sorry about that. So they could come together like that. We'll just cover that up like that. They could come together like this. So that is another option. So lariats can be lariats, but they can also be converted into more of a connected necklace. So I love that. I love lariats. I love them wrapped. I love them, worn in different ways, but I also love to be able to connect them when I want to. So I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put it on camera. So let me flip up. Hi guys. I hope this was fun. Tell me, do you guys like lariats? Do you wear lariats? Have you worn a lariat? Do you want to try making a lariat? Tell me what you think. I'm going to open up that one side. So another thing is with this swivel, I attached the smaller one to the necklace. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for the hearts. And then I'm going to put this on and I'm going to match up the bottom. And then I'm going to take my clasp and push that in. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. And look, I've got a very unassuming connection point here, but it's metallic. It matches, it blends in. And I've got this double strand piece hanging down, 2 strands here. And look at all this Southwest goodness here. All of that green kind of looks like turquoise, but it's not. And that's what's cool about the gemstones in the show today. They can kind of double as turquoise, but I absolutely love this lariat. And I hope you guys will give a lariat a try. If you're not a lariat person, this is maybe a way that makes a lariat a little bit more, acceptable for you or a little bit easier for you to work with. I love this little hack. And remember that these little swivel clasps there were only 25 left this morning. They are on clearance. So grab them and then start making your own. Get yourself some wire and make your own. And you can do all kinds of fun things with these clasps. Thanks for the hearts, you guys. So let's make sure you guys check out. So especially if you have those clasps, there are a few other things that are on low supply. Go ahead and close out your cart and tell me, you guys, is this a fun project? Do you like this? Do you have questions about this fun project? You could actually make these as matching earrings too. I've got enough of this chain. If I got a couple more of those beads, I could do matching earrings or just put some of this chain on. What do you think about that? Kind of fun? Kind of a fun addition? We could do that so easy. Just drop an ear wire onto this fun chain and then you've got a matching deal. You could also do a matching bracelet. Look at that fun chain for a bracelet. And of course you could put one or two of these cool beads onto your chain. I love this. This is, seriously, one of my most favorite beads. Seriously, I'm being serious. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do make a lariat, go to the Serious Art Beaders Facebook group. If you're not part of that group already, go and join us over there. And you can post your pictures of all your beautiful lariats that you make, whether you use the same pieces as me or something completely different. We would love for you to show off what you make. So join us at that group. And you can also come back here for more inspiration the rest of this week. Set your reminders for all the designers. They all have wonderful things planned for you. I'll be back next Monday. We're going to do something fun next Monday too. Some really cool things. And I hope that you guys have a creative and fun week. And don't forget about that Easter mystery coupon at artbeads.com. I will see you all later. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks for being here.